Welcome to the Displaced Diehards podcast, recorded at 2420 Studios in Owensboro, Kentucky. Download a new episode of the podcast every Friday at displaceddiehards.com. Follow us on Twitter at Diehards Podcast. You can also listen to the podcast on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. And as always, watch us Saturday at 10 p.m. on Time Warner, Channel 72. Yippee-ki-yay.
Displaced Diehards.
Displaced Diehards.
I am a Displaced Diehard.
I am a Displaced Diehard.
We are Displaced Diehards.
Welcome to episode number 19 of the Displaced Diehards NFL podcast. We're coming to you from 2420 Studios in Owensboro, Kentucky. I'm your host, Stephen A. Turner. I'll be playing the part of the Gobbledygooker today. You can follow me at Gobbledygooker WWE, alongside my tag team partner, the Native American Tatanka. If you can't tell, we're in a little bit of a Thanksgiving mood today. We've been spending the day making macaroni necklaces, and we're running a little late getting the podcast off the ground tonight. I'd like to give a special thanks to the guys that make this show possible behind the big board, Mr. Ill Bill Hardesty, super producer, super TV producer, Roger Turner. Without those guys, we would just be a couple guys talking in the microphones, and we got a good break this week at 102.7 The Game. They brought us in. We got a little radio show thing going every Monday night at 6:30, leading into Monday Night Football.
102.7 The Game, ESPN Radio, making big moves here on
right.
Displaced Diehards, but we still got
19 weeks in.
Still got the OG podcast, and we're going to kick it off today with the playoff picture going on in the NFL. It's about time to start looking and see if your team is out of it and you need to look at the draft, or if you're going to be in the fantasy playoff picture.
We don't have to worry about that. My team is out of it. So, but anyway, we'll talk about everybody else's team instead.
If your team played 59-minute games, you would be leading the division, though.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Absolutely. I've got a lot of time to cut down Leslie Frazier. We got a long show today, and I'll spend a lot of it trying to get rid of him as my head coach.
We'll kick it off with the AFC East, as you got the Patriots at 8-3, the Jets at 5-6, the Dolphins at 5-6, and the Bills at 4-7. I mean, once again, it seems like the Patriots, this has been how this division has been since 2001, since Tom Brady got there.
Yeah, it's Patriots all day long in this division. There's no threat. The good news for the Jets and the Dolphins, even the Bills maybe, is that
they're right there.
They're all right there in the mix. Any one of these three teams really could get it done. 5-6 is actually where the Tennessee Titans, who currently hold the 6th seed in the AFC playoff picture, sit. So the Jets and the Dolphins are right there in the mix.
I actually think the Bills are probably the second best team in that division. They've had a lot of bad injury issues this year. I think their team's coming together. If they could get consistent quarterback play, I think the Bills next year are a team to watch for on the rise. Moving on now to the AFC North, where the Bengals check in 7-4 off their bye week. Steelers at 5-6, the Ravens at 5-6, and the Browns at 4-7. I mean, you look at it, you think Steelers and Ravens are going to come back because of the names of the team, because the Bengals are number one. But I mean, I think the Bengals are clearly the class of this division, especially after sitting back and watching them be on their bye week, and then the rest of the teams not being impressive.
Yeah, they are the class of the division talent-wise. I just don't know, and it's kind of like a Detroit Lions kind of thing. I just don't know if this team has the mentality to pull this out. The Steelers are surging. Keep an eye on them. Baltimore is just, they're playing mediocre football. They're hanging in there at 5-6. But I think if you're looking at a team that's on the rise in the AFC, you got to look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've got a running game in Bell now, and Ben Roethlisberger has really put that offense on his back. They look more like a Pittsburgh Steeler type of team, not like a Todd Haley type of team. And they're getting enough out of their defense to win games.
Baltimore is about to get one of their big weapons back on offense. Dennis Pitt is starting to practice. So, I mean, once they get them back, maybe you'll start to see a little bit of reminiscence of the Ravens' offense that won them the Super Bowl last year. But until I see that, I'm not considering the Ravens any kind of contenders in the AFC.
Huge game on Thursday night, Thanksgiving night, between these two teams. Seems like they always set up for an epic battle at some point. It didn't look like that was going to materialize this season, but that's going to be a big game in the AFC playoff picture.
Move on to where there's two contenders out there for sure. It might be a third checking in after last week is the AFC West. Got the Broncos at 9-2, the Chiefs at 9-2. Beans' San Diego Superchargers checking in at 5-6, still in the race there, and you got the Oakland Raiders who at 4-7. If they had won last week before they choked away that game, they would have been number 6 in the playoff positioning.
Classic Raider fashion. They couldn't get it done. The Chargers are a team to me that are right there every week. They're in the mix to win games. They've let a few slip away. They've won a few maybe they shouldn't have, so they're right there at 5-6 in this log jam that is the AFC playoff picture. But the Broncos and Chiefs are the class of the division.
Got a log jam there now.
That's right.
With the losses that has piled up the last couple of weeks for those teams, you got 9-2 Broncos and 9-2 Chiefs, and then the Chiefs.
That was a big loss for the Chiefs this week.
Chiefs are looking vulnerable too with the injuries. Samba Ali and Houston both injured. I don't know if they'll have either of them. They definitely won't have them at 100% for this game this week coming up where they play the Broncos.
Yeah, I've still got to put my stock in Denver to win this division. I think Denver's a pretty much an automatic bet for a bye in the AFC, and that's what you're looking for if you're a veteran team like Denver. You got to get that week off and get healthy.
I was really hoping after that epic Undead Al segment last week that the Raiders were going to step up and come into the playoffs because, I mean, Undead Al rallied together that awesome segment from the Undead Netherworlds, and then the Raiders come and let him down just like whenever he was alive.
It's hard to win in the NFL when you're changing quarterbacks on a weekly basis, and the Raiders have done a fairly decent job of keeping themselves together and keeping themselves alive, but to me they're just middle of the pack team in the AFC.
Moving on now to the AFC South where the Colts check in at 7-4, the Titans at 5-6, Jaguars and Texans both suck, so I'm not even going to bother with them. The Titans are still in it, like we said, with the muddy look at the AFC playoff picture where everybody at 5-6 you can be in.
Playoffs started today. The Titans are a 6 seed.
Remember when the AFC was great?
Yeah,
you had to win 11 games to get
in. Parity is taking over in the NFL at this point. But the Colts, they don't look like a very good team. They started very strong, and they have a couple of impressive wins. And
then Reggie Wayne got hurt.
Yeah, that's right. And they have struggled ever since on both sides of the ball. Just some ugly losses of the NFC West teams. If Tennessee could just pull it together, this is a big game coming up this week for Tennessee. If they can pull it together, they might put some pressure on the Indianapolis Colts, who seem to be fading a bit.
Moving on to the NFC side now, more of our liking as we both follow the NFC teams. Go to the NFC South where the New Orleans Saints check in at 9-2 in the NFC South. Panthers moving up on them at 8-3. The Buccaneers 3-8. The Falcons at 2-9.
Yeah, the Buccaneers are surging, but in other news, it's still
Displaced Diehards' favorite, Mike Glennon. Is making them surge.
He's making them. He's making a point for the Buccaneers maybe to look on somewhere else in the draft. I think he's emerging to be a decent young quarterback in the NFL. But move on to relevant. We're talking about playoff picture teams. We got to move on to Carolina and New Orleans, who playing a huge game coming up next week. But for right now. That division is down between those two teams, and not only that, but a bye between those two. Really, if you look at those two teams, they kind of stand out from the rest of the NFC besides Seattle.
I think the Panthers have been the better looking of these two teams in the last few weeks. Vaccaro, the rookie safety that they had playing everywhere on the Saints defense, got injured, and their defense hasn't looked the same since. I'm actually liking the Panthers' shot of winning this division.
The Panthers, like you said on the radio show, are winning games this year that they didn't win last year. It makes a huge difference. If you look at the Panthers last year, I mentioned it in the preseason that they lost so many games close that they could have won. They had the ball with a chance to win at the end, and they're getting some of those games down this year. So that's a big step forward for Carolina at 8-3.
Speaking of teams like that, we're moving on now to the NFC North, where the Lions have had that problem for the last decade or so. It would seem.
On this division.
Lions and Bears both tied at 6-5. You got the Packers at 5-5-1. We'll get into that later, and the Vikings at 2-8-1.
Yeah,
this is your home, Steve. What you got?
Well, I've been saying it all along. I wish one of these teams would step up and do something. Chicago and Detroit, I mean, you're embarrassments. At this point, I think I'm going to go straight heel and just give it to the best team in this division, which is Green Bay.
His soul just died a little bit, ladies and gentlemen.
The Lions and the Bears don't want it, and that just upsets me. It's to the point where the Vikings can't do it. Neither can you guys. I mean, it's terrible. I mean, the Lions losing to Tampa Bay at home when you have a chance to put a death grip on this division with Aaron Rodgers on the bench and you lay an egg, and then Chicago. I mean, just just letting it slip away from them. St. Louis just comes and crushes them. It is what it is. Neither one of these teams look like teams that are a threat.
It's almost like when Aaron Rodgers went down, those other two teams put it in coast mode, thinking they were just going to walk away with this division. And now you look, and the Packers are right there. And I've actually heard reports that Aaron Rodgers got some individual drills in practice, so he's pushing to play this Thursday because you've messed around and left him in the race.
He's definitely playing next week, and that's all you really need because even if Detroit wins this game to go 7-5, and then you got the Packers at 5-6-1, I still think there's enough time. I don't think the Lions can hold that lead. I really don't. I don't think they're a good enough football team because when Aaron Rodgers comes back, I don't think this team's going to lose very many games. And barring if he gets re-injured, the Packers are the best team in the division with Aaron Rodgers. It just depends on how long it's going to take him to come back. Chicago is just in 1 week, out the other. That's a huge loss.
They're as bipolar as J. Cutler is at this point.
And it just makes me sick to my stomach to think of the games that we've blown as a Minnesota Vikings fan. We've blown games to Detroit, to Chicago at the last minute. Follow that up with the blown last-minute loss to Cleveland. Then we blew the game versus Dallas, the game where I had the meltdown on the program. And then this past week, you blow a 16-point lead to Flynn and the Green Bay Packers, and you end in a tie, but it's still a loss.
They give away the one game where they start Freeman randomly after being on the team for like 3 days.
It's Leslie Frazier's incompetence, his unwillingness to put a death grip on a team in the fourth quarter and going conservative that have cost this team from being in first place, the 6-5 first place Minnesota Vikings, if a team could know how to finish. So it makes me sick.
We're on the first place in the NFC West now as the Seattle Seahawks check in at 10-1. You got the 49ers at 7-4, the Cardinals, my Cardinals at 7-4, and the St. Louis Rams. Steve St. Louis Rams checking in at 5-6.
I love this division.
Yes,
I do. I love it.
This division is football. Remember when this division produced like a 7-9
7-9
and went to the playoffs? Not anymore.
Embarrassment. This team, you play any team in this division, you better buckle your chin straps and be ready to play football.
You're about to play a football game.
That's right. Because Jeff Fisher is going to have that defense playing tough in St. Louis. He has nothing on offense. This guy literally has no quarterback. They pulled Zach Stacy out of nowhere.
If the defense doesn't beat the shit out of you enough, Zach Stacy will trying to tackle him. That dude is a monster.
They pulled him out. This is a Jeff Fisher team. A couple years ago when Leslie took us to a 3-13 record, I was begging management to hire Jeff Fisher. This guy is a football coach, and he's doing it with not a whole lot of talent, just like he did in Tennessee all those years. He's got the Rams playing good football.
Same way with the Cardinals. They're playing good football.
Another well-coached team.
It's not because of a talent overflow there. I mean, you've got Carson Palmer in the twilight of his career. Larry Fitzgerald's still the best player on that team. No consistent run game, and they're right there in it 7-4, just like the San Francisco 49ers are, who was everybody's pick to make it to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, the 49ers, obviously talent-wise, they stand out above the Cardinals and the Rams, but you still have to play the games on Sunday, and the Cardinals and Rams are going to come play you tough every week because they're a very well-coached team. There's not much difference between winning and losing, and when you play good defense and you have coaches that know how to formulate a good game plan, you're going to have yourself in the mix.
Yeah, the Seahawks have clearly established themselves as the ones to catch in the NFC. If they get home field advantage, they're going to be tough
Lights
to beat.
out.
I think it'll be over for any team that goes there. To wrap it up now, NFC East, one very near and dear to my heart. The Cowboys check in at 6-5, unfortunately off the win. The Eagles at 6-5 as well, share the division lead. Giants, led by Sling Blade Eli Manning at 4-7, and the Washington Redskins not really led by Catfish Bob Griffin at 3-8.
Not led by anybody. That's the problem in Washington. They don't have any leadership. Shanahan is probably going to be out the door thanks to the Catfish. It's a battle in that locker room, and you can see it developing in the press conference. So you can pretty much stop talking about them when it comes to playoffs.
Playoffs?
Yeah, that's right.
Talking about playoffs with the
move on to the Giants, who won 4 games in a row against 4 of the worst quarterback performances in the history of the NFL. And so there's that, and so I don't really put them in the mix either. So it comes down to Dallas and Philadelphia is what it comes down to in this division. I think one of those teams is going to the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think the way it's looking is that Week 17 in Jerry World, Eagles, Cowboys for the division is how it's going to play out.
How it always goes. And it seems like they always play important games. In the last week of the season or last 2 weeks of the season, you got that Dallas-Eagles game.
As an Eagles fan, there's nothing better than Cowboys-Eagles Week 17 for a playoff spot.
That pretty much kicks the playoffs off a week early.
Yeah, that's playoff. You got an extra week of playoffs when you got that.
Yeah, that's going to about wrap it up for that segment. I think, just sit back and get your popcorn ready because, I mean, there's so many teams that are still in the mix. There's not very many fans out there that teams are out of it like my team, but enjoy it.
From the NFC East, the division near and dear to my heart, going to move it on to a segment now near and dear to my heart as we get into hashtag Ask the Snake, baby.
Yeah.
Woo!
It's time once again, baby. Ask the Snake, hashtag, right here on Displaced Diehards, everybody's favorite segment of the show. Now this week, I brought a guy in, and he's supposed to be reading me the questions, and the problem is I don't even know if this guy can read. Hopefully somebody drew some pictures out for him or something. I don't know who's bringing me these guests, but I'm bringing him in today. He's the quarterback of the New York Giants, half-ass quarterback with a couple rings on his finger. Ladies and gentlemen, Sling Blade Manning, go ahead. Talk, boy.
It's me, Eli Sling Blade Manning. I'm here to ask Kenny the Snake Stapler some questions. And yes, Kenny, I do know how to read. I learned out behind Papa Manning's house in the old shed. And sometimes I didn't just stare at the floor. I'd look at the books and figure the pictures.
Jesus Christ, this segment won't be over with by Christmas time. This guy talks slower than my grandmother. Let's get this thing started, baby. Go ahead and kick it off with the first question.
At All Sports Talk 92 wants to know, what are your thoughts on Channing Crowder urinating on himself every game? Did you ever do this when you played the game, Mr. Stabler?
Urinate on myself? Are you kidding me? I'm not 3 years old, baby. The Snake knows where the bathroom is. I can go take a piss in the bathroom, no problem. Hell no, I don't pee on myself. Now, there was that time back in Pittsburgh, back in 1976, whenever I went out on the town with Terry Bradshaw and we got shit-faced drunk. And that game, I might have dribbled on myself a little bit. I was a little hungover that day, something. It might have happened. I can't admit to it fully. And then there's those times whenever I was getting put on my back all day long, and I'd go over to the sidelines, and I'd get the offensive lineman's water bottle, and I'd whip the snake out right there on the sideline. That's what I called it, the snake. I'd whip him out right there on the sidelines, and I'd piss in the water bottles, and I'd say, tell the trainers to keep that shit away from me. Make sure you don't pass me the wrong Gatorade bottle. But, yeah, that's about the only time I ever pissed on the football field. Yeah, that's about all I got. But that all sports talk, isn't that Riley? Isn't that Mongoloid Riley, big weirdo? I can't even go over to have sex with Chris Riley's wife anymore because the guy stops me in the living room, wants to have a 25-minute conversation with me. I don't have time to talk to you, Riley. Hit me up on Twitter if you want to talk. I'm not coming to your house no more.
Sling Blade urinates himself frequently on and off the field.
Speak!
At Broly's daddy, 72, wants to know, what was the party like at Alabama? What is AJ missing out on being a goody two-shoes?
Well, it's a two-part question, baby. The first part is the parties were epic. Because you know why? Because anytime the snake walks into a party, the roof's going to blow off the place. You know how it is? You go down to Bama, and you're talking about a football player, a quarterback like the snake walks into a party. It's just going to be a first-class kind of deal, baby. But then you turn around and talk about A.J. McCarron not going to the party. Have you seen this guy's girlfriend? Baby, if a snake was banging that chick, I'd be staying at home every night, too. Maybe bring another couple girls into the fold, you know what I'm saying? Get A.J.'s girlfriend's friends over, have a little bit of a party. That sounds like a Roll Tide kind of party to the snake.
Sling Blade wouldn't know anything about.
Of course you don't know nothing about it.
Banging.
You've been living in a damn shed your whole life. You're a mongoloid.
The
hell, your half-ass brother don't even play football smarter than you are.
I know. I didn't get to spend much time with Peyton. They didn't let us hang too much together. No.
Hell, if I was Archie, I'd keep you away from my prized possession, Peyton, too. Of course, you do have a little bit more jewelry than Peyton, so hell. Maybe you got a little beef in this argument. The last thing Archie wants is for his prized possession, Peyton, catching mongoloid disease from his dumb younger brother, Eli.
Yes, I reckon I wouldn't want to pass my mongoloidness over to my brother Peyton.
Well, hell no, I can't blame Archie there. Let's move on. We got time for one more question. Spit it out, boy.
At Anti-Hero 1986 wants to know, why are tricks just for kids?
Well, tricks ain't for just for kids, baby. The snake's got 2 tricks in his bedroom right now. Laying up in his bed waiting for the snake to finish this segment so he can go in there and warm that bed up for him. You know what I'm saying? You probably don't. Actually, I know you don't know what I'm saying,
I
Sling
reckon
Blade.
I don't.
The Snake is just at a loss for words with this idiot in the studio here today. I'm going to have to cut him off and just go ahead and say, hit me up on Twitter. If you got any questions, you can hit me up at hashtag #AskTheSnake, @I'mTheSnake, baby. Man, that's a mouthful. That's hard for the Snake to say, especially when he's high on cocaine. But anyway, we're going to see you next week.
Thank you, King, the Snake Stabler and Sling Blade Manning
Absolutely.
for hashtag Ask the Snake. That segment is gold every week. Moving on to two teams that's looking like gold now. Denver and Patriots, 34-31 is the final score.
Yeah, we're going to bring in our Patriots superfan, Gant, to talk about the game. I'm sure he was happy with the outcome. It looked pretty touch and go there at the beginning of that game, but Patriots came out like a house of fire in the second half and got the job done in overtime.
Well, thanks for having me on again, guys. You're right. The second half, it was a nice second half of a game. I won't say it was a nice game all in all altogether.
Yes.
Campbell's over here watching the game. He looked like he was going to vomit for the first half of the game.
It seemed like when things start going wrong, it just continued to go wrong. And
I was
go
standing
wrong.
a foot away from the TV and 3 feet away from Ward, so he got to see it firsthand.
It
wasn't pleasant.
I got to enjoy 2 long playoff games of 4 teams that I have no interest in whatsoever this weekend. Thanks, Eagles bye week.
Yeah, that was great.
Now, getting into that game, it actually was it was reminiscent of the Jets playoff game 2 years ago, where they came out. Brady had that consecutive pass streak with no interceptions, and they came out and he threw that pick right off the bat. And he just never looked the same. He never looked right the whole game. Looked like they were seeing ghosts, as they say. And that's what I was sitting there watching it, and I didn't even make it over here till they were 17-0. So they fumbled again and lost it. I was on the way over listening to it in the car, and I almost turned around. And I stopped and got a beer, and then I was like, man, do I even want to go over
Going
there?
home.
Yeah, it was like Ward sitting there just primed.
When you're a Patriots fan, you got to know your team's really never out of it, though. I mean, even against Denver.
Even sitting there watching the game as a non-Patriots fan, 24-0, I'm still watching the game because I know they're still in the game. That's just how the Patriots roll. You knew Belichick was going to go in at halftime and make the adjustments he needed to make, and he did.
Yeah, basically the Patriots just stopped making mistakes. I mean, they looked very efficient in the third quarter. Brady looked about as good as I've ever seen him look there in that little stretch in the third quarter, and that's saying a lot.
He also switched up his wide receivers. He took Dobson completely out of the game and changed it up on the way that receivers were blocking whenever they're throwing the passes. So, I mean, he switched up a little bit other than just the turnovers. It's just the genius of the evil Emperor Belichick.
People, they're trying to say that he didn't make adjustments at halftime and all that. There's definitely some adjustments made there.
I know because I have Aaron Dobson in my damn fantasy PPR league. He got 0 points.
He was
They took him
bitching
out
about
at
it the whole
halftime.
time. He was over there causing a ruckus on the couch.
Yeah, Edelman looked great in this game.
Edelman came out of nowhere.
He sent a message to Wes Welker, if you ask me. I think that was his way of saying, you know what, everybody talks about how we miss you so much, and it was a horrible move to let you go. Well, you've been replaced. And
Everybody thought he was going to do that with Amendola, but it ended up being Edelman.
Yeah.
He was making the point
He's
with.
been there all along.
No, Edelman stepped up big, and that was actually one of the points I was going to say, that the wide receivers, because as Ward said, Dobson wasn't doing anything, and Tompkins wasn't really performing. Amendola was trying his best, and he had Gronk out there doing what he does essentially. It looks like he's getting back into a really nice form. And getting the connection back with them, but like you said, the third quarter he came out throwing darts. It looked like they didn't abandon the run game, which I hate when Bill. And I understand why he does it to send a message, but he benches Ridley every time he fumbles. I mean, it's in the kid's head now. I mean, that's all, at this point, that's all it is. So
I don't know that it's
a completely different offense. I feel when he's on the field, I would like to see the best players on the field at all times. So I'd like to see Ridley and Vereen and Gronk and Amendola and even now Edelman. He's coming back in. He's kind of played with injuries. He started the year off on had a big game, and then he had a toe injury and was out for a little while. So I think that really messed him up.
Yeah. What I took from this game is that from the Denver side of the ball, if you want to add something from Denver, Von Miller came out and looked like Von Miller from last year for the first quarter and a half of this game.
He must have got his PCP connection back from Aaron Hernandez or something. It was Von Miller.
I didn't hear his name called though in the second half.
The second half, that whole defense disappeared.
Yeah,
really.
it really did. They looked like they kind of went into a soft zone. I know that their cornerback Rogers Cromartie went down, and I heard him comment that they went from playing a lot of man to a lot of zone. And Brady, you play a zone against Brady. You play a zone against Brady with no pass rush, and good luck. He'll put as many points on the board on you as it possibly can be put.
All day, all I've heard is just now after this game, they're starting to talk about how the weather is going to affect Manning for the first.
We've been saying that for weeks.
For the first half of the season, they've been jockeying Denver, saying how they're going to be unbeatable all year because of the numbers they were putting up there this season. I was saying since week 2, I was like, wait till the cold weather gets there. He can't throw in the cold weather, and it's not going to help that neck injury that he has anymore when he's taking hits in the cold weather. He doesn't have the arm strength for it, and I'm not buying into Denver.
Yeah, it looked bad for Manning. I know that. I understand that Denver came out with a running game a game plan to run the ball with the running game focus, and it worked. I mean, O'Shawn Marino had a fantastic game in this game, but on the other side of the coin, Manning threw some balls there when they needed him to. Which that drive right there at the end of regulation was impressive. You have to give Manning a little bit of credit on that, but he threw some flutter balls that didn't look real good in this game, and you have to kind of wonder. Of course you're saying, well, it's on the road in New England. Well, it gets just as cold in Denver, if not colder. So it's going to be interesting to see how that offense continues to evolve. I think they need to continue to have no Sean. People are saying they should run the ball less. I think they need to continue to run the ball with no.
He got a little banged up this week in the game, so
yeah,
might not be running him as much this week.
Well, I've been calling it for weeks. I've been saying you got to get this guy the ball, feed him. And they might have fed him a little too much in this game.
We've been breaking down all the stats and the great quarterbacks such as Manning and Brady and things like that, and then the game comes down to almost ending in overtime up until a botched punt. So I mean, you can break down all the game statistics. You can have the greatest players you want, but the game basically came down to a botched punt.
A lucky play right there at the end.
Which was on Welker, so all the Patriots fans had to be loving
it was on Welker.
I almost wore my Welker jersey over here because he essentially won the game.
He did.
But I have a point about the special teams. Did you see Osweiler come in the game to block the field goal?
Absolutely.
I thought that was great. I thought that was really good coaching. I liked the move a lot. Of course, we took a timeout and Brady snuck the ball.
What would have happened if Osweiler goes up to block the kick and he blows his knee out, or it's like? But yeah, I mean, I agree.
Peyton Manning's back up. You're not gonna need that kid. They don't care.
Yeah, until he breaks his neck next week.
I think what that shows with Osweiler is that your coach is thinking about every flow of the game. He's not just looking at what's right in front of him. He's looking at the wide picture and trying to utilize every weapon he has. So yeah, I like that.
I did too. Even though I knocked it just now, I did like it. I thought that was very innovative. I thought that was a good move. But
we brought up Wes Welker blowing the game, and we said how we liked the call to put Osweiler out there. There's one guy that liked Welker blowing the play even more than a Patriots fan, and it's the incarcerated Aaron Hernandez. He's checking in right now.
Yo, what's cracking? It's the tight end that might make your life in, the political prisoner pilgrim patriot, Aaron Hernandez, right here on the Displaced Diehard podcast, checking in to bring you the rundown of my New England Patriots, taking on the Denver Broncos. And of course, my Patriots go in there, get the win. We killed it, just like we always do. We win the game in overtime when that little Peckerwood, Wes Welker, forgets to tell his teammates to back up off the ball. The punt hits them. My New England Patriots pick it up. We kick a field goal, win the game. How you like that, Denver? That's what that little Peckerwood Wes Welker does. Drops the ball in big moments, son. Just ask Tom Brady about that pass the Wes Welker dropped in the Super Bowl. They've been a hit out on that kid ever since. And when I do catch up with that little Peckerwood, he will play the role of the turkey, and I'm going to play the role of a pilgrim. Boom, son. Now moving on, New England takes on Houston this week. The only good thing about Houston is the lax gun laws in Texas. Shit, I could probably kill 2-3 people, get away with that. But my time is almost up here. We having our Thanksgiving dinner here in the prison. Some turkey, stuffed with PCP is what is on my menu. We've also recently had Jameis Winston brought in, and I'm going to try to get him to be the quarterback on my prison squad team. So until next time, this is Aaron Hernandez, the tight end that might make your life in, saying, aye.
Gotta thank Aaron Hernandez once again checking in from Connecticut Correctional Prison. Man, he's gonna catch another case with all those threats to Wes Welker.
He is. You better watch out. Let's go ahead and move on to Miami and Carolina. This is a big game. A lot of people kind of flew under the radar as far as results-wise, but Miami had this game won. They were pretty much in the driver's seat all game long, and then Cam Newton finally steps up and does what we asked him to do, and that's lead his team to a key victory. They didn't want to lose pace with New Orleans there in the NFC, and I thought this is a big win for the Carolina Panthers.
Miami's almost getting into that Leslie Frazier coach situation where they're losing way too many close games. They're in too many games to have the record that they are. They had a chance to actually step up in the division where it's down other than the Patriots and get a playoff spot. I mean, they're still in it because the AFC is so horrible at this point. The thing I took from this game, like I said on 102.7, the game is that the Carolina Panthers are now winning games that they were losing in the last 2 years.
Huge. Yeah, we touched on that at the beginning. They lost a lot of these games last year. The record was terrible, but it didn't indicate how close they were to winning a lot of those games. And I took away from that in the preseason. I thought, if Cam could just make a couple plays here or there, that defense is good enough to keep him in the games where Cam can just make one or two plays and get the W's.
What I've liked is that Cam, whenever they are behind, they're not taking big chances where he was putting up a lot of turnovers and interceptions last year. I think they've really made him more of what he does well as a quarterback instead of pressing him to make him into something he's not.
I agree. And if you watch Carolina this year, which I have a little bit, I've watched a little bit of the Panthers this year. It looks like they're more. Last year, if you watched them, they were more focused on throwing the ball down the field a lot, and they were making some puzzling plays. It looks like they're more of a move the chains. Let's just get the first down, continue to move the drive, and they're letting Cam do that with his legs. He may not be putting up huge rushing stats, but you got a 3rd and 4 versus Cam Newton, and he looks to throw. If it's not there, he's very difficult to stop with his leg. That's a huge weapon for the Carolina Panthers to have.
The reason I haven't been buying into the Saints and the offensive teams like the Denver and Broncos, I've been telling them to hold on until you see them later in the season, because in the beginning of the season, offense sells. In the second half of the season, when it's important, defense sells. When it's cold outside, defense still travels. Offense doesn't.
That's
so
right.
If you got a good defense, you got a chance. And the Carolina Panthers are looking better every week to have a chance in the NFC. I think it's going to come down to them and Seattle. And fortunately for them, like I said, they got a good defense. I think they got the best shot of that defense traveling to Seattle and getting the win.
Yeah, I agree. That'd be an interesting matchup for sure.
Speaking of getting a win, nobody got a win in this next one as we're moving on to Green Bay versus Minnesota, 26-26 overtime tie.
It's like God's lined up just to kick me in the stomach this season on a weekly basis.
It's find new ways to do it every week.
I mean, it's not really as bothersome as it once was. I'm kind of lost interest in the wins and losses part of it.
When lightning arm Jerry Flynn comes in and leads a 16-point deficit fourth quarter comeback, and you're not really that affected by it, you've seen some shit.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And I was affected by it a little bit simply because it was Green Bay, and I really wanted to put a damper on their playoff chances. I thought for 3 quarters we played fantastic. Minus that Scott Tolzien dipsy-doo dunkaroo there touchdown run that he had in the first
Michael Vick there.
in the first quarter. That was pretty horrible, but the defense really stepped up. I thought Tolzien would come out and have a field day on his passing. I thought Xavier Rhodes had his best game as a pro.
Absolutely. He was stand out all day.
At this point, as a Vikings fan, you're just trying to pull out individual performances from young guys that maybe you can build on. And Xavier Rhodes on the defensive side of the ball, I saw where in the press conference Leslie said he put him in man-to-man. Well, novel concept there, Leslie. If you watch film on him at Florida State, he's one of the best man-to-man cover corners in the draft. And you come out and you put this guy in zone on a weekly basis.
They did that with Darrelle Revis.
Shocker.
And Asamoah, whenever Asamoah went to Philly and Revis to Tampa Bay, they took the best man-up cornerbacks in the league and tried to make them play zone. I don't understand that.
You don't put square pegs into round holes, Leslie. So this week they finally let him play man-to-man, and guess what? He had his best game as a pro. Shocker. I mean, it's pretty much black and white. It's not rocket science.
I noticed Brian Robinson out there getting a lot of his name called a lot out there, making some plays.
A lot of Vikings fans are. I'll touch on that. That's a great point. I'm going to get into that. Rick Spielman. A lot of Vikings fans are hanging him, wanting his head because the team. I don't think the team's under-talented. As a matter of fact, they signed Brian Robinson earlier in the season to a nice contract extension, a very team-friendly contract extension. The guy's 3rd in the league in quarterback hurries. I think he's an up-and-coming defensive end in the league, and I think if Jared Allen does walk away, I think with Everson Griffin on one side and Brian Robinson on the other, we'll be just fine there.
Got Sharif. Floyd also
Floyd
there.
Plays solid. And you go on the other side of the ball, and Cordero Patterson's starting to emerge. They're starting to finally plug him into the offense.
Didn't he have double-digit targets this week?
Yeah, he did. 11 targets. He had 8 catches. So if you're in need of a fantasy wide receiver, that'd be, especially if your league rewards return touchdown points if they score a touchdown. Cordero Patterson's a solid option there. But I'm not going to talk about him all day. I was a little upset. And I've almost turned the tide in the Green Bay situation.
That's been the argument all week. Would you rather lose this game or settle with the tie?
I know. At the end of that game, I was just at a loss for words. I was mad that we blew the 16 point. Anytime you blow a 16-point fourth quarter lead, to Matt Flynn with 11 minutes to go, it's a loss. I don't care what the scoreboard says.
Yeah,
so.
he didn't know how to feel. He had the same emotions as heroin addict Joe Flacco.
In classic Vikings fashion, I'm sure this tie will end up 5 years from now. We'll look back and be like, you remember that game where we tied Green Bay and how it cost us Teddy Bridgewater? Now Teddy Bridgewater's league MVP or something. That's probably what it's going to be.
I've been trying to give the purple lining and saying, I don't know, maybe with this tie, maybe now Aaron Rodgers rushes back and they ended up ending his career.
I've got to find something positive, but I don't know. At this point, I've almost turned the tide completely, and I almost hope Green Bay just wins the division because Detroit and Chicago don't deserve it. They've had their opportunities, and I'm done with them. I'm done pulling. I look up there, and it makes me sick to have to cheer for them just in spite of Green Bay, so I'm done with that. I'm not
he was trying to cheer for them on Sunday, and then he almost threw up in his mouth every time he did.
Jim Schwartz is a disgrace, and that's my message to you, Jim Schwartz. Quit or resign because you're an embarrassment. You have a team full of talent and you can't beat Tampa Bay. I mean, it's a joke.
There's one person we hope doesn't resign from this show, and it's the Viking warrior, the Odinson. He checks in with his Asgardian report right now. Skull.
Ha! 'Tis I, Sir R. Odinson. One truly wonders why thou still partakes in the viewing of the games of the Vikings of Minnesota. Each week they just seem to fill one's heart with more rage and more sorrow than the one before. This week thou Vikings were leading they arch nemesis, the Green Bay Packers. And in the quarter of fourth again, thy Vikings let the lead slip away, ending in a tie. What is a tie? Only you mortals of this plane of Midgard could create something as terribly weak as a tie. Ha! In Asgard, battles are waged and fought. The battle is not over until one side has slain the other. One must be victorious. There are no draws in war, in combat. Ah! Sir Hindle, call upon the Bifrost to take me to Lord Kenneth of Sabler, Lord of the Serpents. For one must need vast amounts of strippers to ache my woes from such a terrible thing as a tie. Zah!
Thank you, Odinson, for your report on your Vikings-Packers. Apparently, there aren't ties in Asgard.
There shouldn't be ties. But right now, we're going to get into the NFC North battle, Dallas Cowboys and New York Giants. We're going to bring in Dallas Cowboys superfan Chris Riley. Talk about the first place Dallas Cowboys.
We do need to get some boo birds for me when I come on. That would feel appropriate.
The Hill, Chris Riley.
Because everybody hates the Cowboy guy, and everybody loves booing me.
The Cowboy guy hates the Cowboy guy. He's the most self-loathing person on the staff.
That's true.
You're back on the bandwagon this week. They got a flat tire on the wagon, but we got the jacked it up.
I jacked it up, and I'm free riling right now. I mean,
They're on that Romo roller coaster.
I got a Romo jersey on. I mean, I clapped for Jason Garrett for the first time this season. I was very proud of Garrett.
Absurd.
Very proud of him.
What about your boy on defense that you've been calling out all season with the touchdown?
Well, hell, I mean, the damn ball was handed to him. What did he? I mean,
fantastic play.
It was a gift wrap. Skandrick stripped it, and he just happened to be right there. It was a fluke play.
What's his name? His name always escapes
Jim
me.
Heath.
Jim Heath. There you go.
He's
Star of the program,
worst
Jim
player. The worst defensive player I've ever seen in my life.
That's bad.
I was sitting there forced to watch this game. I went over to my parents' house to eat Thanksgiving dinner, and so it was the only game I had the option for, and I just sat there and watched this game. The thing I took from it is neither team wanted to really win that bad.
I mean,
no response.
What can I
That means I hit it right on the head. I was thinking the same thing.
Well,
I didn't want to say it.
I mean, I agree 100%. What am I supposed to say? The number one thing I took out of the game that I was happy for is just the fact that Garrett didn't coach like Leslie Frazier's been doing. And I don't mean that as a punch in the face to you, but I mean we had 3rd and 7 at our own 20 with 4 minutes to go. the Cowboys 3 weeks ago, like against the Lions, they would have ran the ball and be like, oh, let's make them use up a timeout and then we'll punt it.
Yeah.
And we'll stop them.
That's the story
they
of
didn't
my
do
life
that.
this year.
They threw a 19-yard pass to Des Bryant down the sideline.
Trying to play analytic football.
Yeah, I mean, that was a hell of a play right there. Then they had a 3rd and 10 where Miles Austin caught one. And, I mean,
You gotta applaud the
they
Cowboys
played
for
to
that,
freaking
dude.
win the game on that final drive, and I loved it. Even that 3rd and 10, they had the ball at the 30-yard line. They could have just ran 2 straight run plays and kicked the field goal with 2 minutes to go like they did against the Lions. But no, they threw a pass to Cole Beasley, let him show what he's capable of doing. I mean, he's no Edelman or Welker,
He
but
reminds me of
I'm
Edelman
telling
a
you,
little bit.
he is good. He can do it. I'm a little bit worried about his fumble problems. He did almost cost us a fumble. Luckily, there was a cheap penalty called on the Giants, which don't even get me started on the officiating. It was absolutely
bad.
horrendous.
You had to put in a complaint to the ladies' man ref here.
That's right. Get him on the line. I'm sure
Well, I kept trying to say in my head that they're probably just looking the other way, looking at the ladies, because I know how that's what he says. So
too many cheerleaders.
I know the Cowboys got the win 24-21, but being the Eagles fan, I got to bring some gloom to the Cowboys side of the ball. They allowed over 200 yards rushing to the Giants, who couldn't run the football at all this year.
Cowboys
you
rushing
worried about that?
Struggling a little bit.
I mean, worried would imply that I anticipate them to do well. So
You just accepted it at this point.
yeah. So no, I'm not worried. To answer your question, because I expect them.
Fantastic
I
answer.
expect them to do terrible. The only thing I will say, like on a note with their defense, is Hatcher was back. He played well. Claiborne, when he was in there, I mean, they stopped Manning, Sling Blade, whatever. From, I mean, he threw 450 yards the first game this year, and we held him in check for the most part.
Cowboys defense is so bad they've been reduced to bragging about holding Mongoloid Manning.
They're just happy with that. We won the game,
it's
baby.
bad though. I mean, what am I supposed to sit here and say?
A point that leads into that perfectly is whenever the Cowboys forgot to tackle Brendan Myers when he made that catch, and they forgot to tackle him when he's down, they didn't even touch him. And I was watching over my parents' house, like I said, my mom, who doesn't watch football at all, whenever that play happened, they showed Jason Garrett, who looked stunned on the sideline, and she's like, "Who's that? He has no idea what's going on out there."
We've been saying that for weeks.
Just like me and Steve say, he looks up at the Titantron / Cowboystron every single week, and he's just like, "Oh, what just happened there? I don't know."
I saw his press conference. That guy makes me want to punch him in the. Just his face, the way his face looks, makes me want to punch him right in the mouth. He just has that little smirky leprechaun look on his face half the time. I don't even know what the hell is going through his mind 90% of the time.
Mickey Mouse mother effer, as Dirty Kermit would say.
One of the main reasons why I'm convinced that we will not win this division is because we have the easiest schedule in the NFL the last 5 games when it comes to matchups. Like of the playoff teams, we have the easiest schedule. So
I think you'll lay some eggs in there. Is that what you're trying to say?
And
overlook some teams.
I mean, I'm really hoping that Rodgers and Cutler stay out for a couple more weeks. If that happens, then we got the Raiders, and then at Josh McCown, and then Matt Flynn's coming to Big D. So I'm hoping that Rodgers and Cutler can just stay like nursing Jay's strudel, and then Rodgers nursing his what he hurt, I forgot.
Collarbone.
Yeah, his collarbone.
Do the Cowboys play the Packers the week after Thanksgiving?
No, they play the
then-
Bears Monday night after.
I think you're definitely seeing A. Rodgers.
It doesn't
Yeah, I do
matter
too.
whether you see Cutler or McCown. I think they're
pretty equal at this
interchangeable.
point.
But you don't want to face Aaron Rodgers. I think he's gonna. I mean, then again, you never know how he's gonna come back from the injury. But if he comes back anything like he was, I think the Packers are gonna be a tough team to beat.
Speaking of the Packers waiting for Aaron Rodgers to come back, the coach are kind of waiting for Andrew Luck to come back. Move on to that game now. As Indianapolis took on Arizona.
Yeah,
My Arizona Cardinals blew them out 40-11.
this is a lapper. Chuck Pagano loses to his old coach, his old replacement coach, Bruce Arians, who's doing a fantastic job.
Riley Cooper's favorite coach.
Yeah, I looked up at this game and it was over before I even realized what the score was. This game was in the books. Andrew Luck looked about as bad as I've seen him look as a professional quarterback. He's really struggling without Reggie Wayne out there.
Speak about struggle, we'll give you our update on beast mode, as we like to do.
Oh,
Trent
yeah,
Richardson,
weekly update.
Beast mode, as Jim Irsay likes to call him. 7 attempts, 15 yards. Whoa, that was worth a first-round pick.
Yeah, Jim, you should have took the deal for Toby Gerhardt. I mean, you probably could have had him. We probably could have got a second out of you, Irsay, you idiot. I mean, at this point, the way Gerhardt looked better than Trent Richardson this past week.
I mean, Gerhardt, plus he's coming out of that Stanford system,
That's
which
Stanford offense
Irsay's trying to bring into Indianapolis, trying to run
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Give you some game stats from the game. Palmer, my boy Carson Palmer, checked in with 314, 2 touchdowns. Fitzgerald, 52 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns right off the jump. I mean, literally, by the time I noticed this game, it actually started. Fitzgerald put up 2 touchdowns.
He was beasting out there.
Andrew Luck was not beasting.
No.
20 of 39, 163 yards, a TD, and an interception.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up the game. You look at those stats. I'm happy for Larry Fitzgerald. The guy's 100% class act, and I have a connection with him as a Minnesota Viking ball boy back in my beloved Vikings in 1998.
That actually showed Chris Carter and a young Larry Fitzgerald on the Chris Carter football life.
Yeah, that was awesome. But yeah, he's a class act, and the guy's been through the ringer when it comes to quarterback options down there in Arizona. Carson Palmer may not be the greatest thing since sliced bread, but he's came in there and he's double John Skelton's output, so that's always positive. And you look at the other side of the ball, and the Arizona Cardinals are flat getting it done on the defensive side of the ball.
Honey Badger.
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying that.
What?
This pretty much is matching straight up with what we said was going to happen in the preseason. Any of these teams are going to give you a tough time because they play such good defense. And you really have to tip your cap to Coach of the Year, Bruce Arians, who's going for Coach of the Year on a different team. He won it with Indianapolis last year. Maybe he'll win it again in Arizona.
There's one thing I'm not tipping my cap at, and it's this next game we're going to move to, is Baltimore took on the Jets in this albatross of an NFL game that was so horrible, we're not even going to talk about it. We're just going to let our homie, Dirty Kermit, and very special guest talk about it.
From Kermit to you well to I hope you're absolutely.
What the f***'s up, Displaced Diehard Nation? It's Kermit the Frog here, checking in on the Displaced Diehards podcast. And today, I got a very special guest with me. It's NFL referee Roy Ellison.
Yeah, motherfucker.
Now, Dirty Kermit and Roy go way back. And now that piece of shit Roger Goodell decided to suspend him from the league for using some of Kermit's language, we've had a little bit more time to hang out together.
Piece of shit, motherfucker.
That's right. F*** you, Roger Goodell. The horse you f***ing rode in on. Moving on, what the f*** happened to my Jets this week? They're f***ing terrible. You got Josh Cribbs outperforming Geno Smith at the quarterback position. Give me a f***ing break, Rex. I guess the silver lining in this shit cloud is that the f***ing Miami Dolphins are coming to town, and that stupid big f***ing weirdo won't be with them.
Weird motherfucker.
The good news is my boy Richie Incognito, Dick Cognito as we like to call him, is going to be coming up to hang out with me and Roy for the weekend. We're going to be out snorting some and f***ing some bitches.
Cocaine, motherfucker. Bilingual, motherfucker.
Now, the second best thing about the Dolphins coming to town is Jennifer Lopez and her fat banging ass.
That ass, motherfucker.
That's right. You know Dirty Kermit's going to get all up in that shit.
Up in it, motherfucker.
You hear me, Mark Anthony? You f***ing weird-looking motherfucker. Looks like somebody put a goddamn fire out all over your face.
Burnt up, crispy, motherfucker.
That's all the time we got for today. Me and Roy's got to go hire a hooker to sit in the corner while I suck Roy off.
What, motherfucker?
Till next time.
All right.
Fuck everybody.
Thanks to Dirty Kermit, I guess, and his guest, Roy Ellison.
Thank you, motherfucker.
All right, moving on. We're going to get down to Kansas City, where the Kansas City Chiefs laid an egg this week versus the San Diego Superchargers.
This man knows about laying eggs. He's playing the part of the gobbledygooker this week.
That's right. I know a little bit about that. The story I took from this game is Kansas City lost 2 major weapons on defense, Tamba Hali, Justin Houston. That's a serious production loss for the Kansas City defense.
At the time those guys went down, they'd given up 3 points.
That's
a
big loss.
And then San Diego ended up with 41.
You lose a pass rush like that, and your corners start to get exposed a little bit. And Phillip Rivers just had a field day in the last 2.5 quarters of this game. Put up 41 points. Not a game that the Chiefs are really built to win.
Tamba Hali doesn't look like he's that seriously injured. No. I think Houston is the one they're worried about. Is there was too much swelling to even figure out what was wrong with him yet. They're still waiting on the word. If Kansas City loses their defense, that's going to end it for them. I think San Diego's a better team if they've lost those 2 guys on defense. I mean, at least San Diego's got a quarterback put up some points. Unlike Alex Smith, what I've been harping on, he's only good if his team around him is a Super Bowl quality team.
Yeah, I think Alex Smith played better than I expected him to. He did try to open it up a little bit, and you saw what happened when he did. He threw an interception, but he kept Kansas City in the mix. They did put 38 points on the board, but like I say, this is just not a game Andy Reid is going to want his team to get into. You don't want a shootout if you're Kansas City. And you have to really tip your cap to San Diego. They're hanging around, doing what they can to stay in the AFC playoff picture.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers went for 392 and 3 touchdowns. Keenan Allen, 9 receptions, 124. Looks like that rookie's really stepping into the offense there and giving Phillip Rivers the number 1 receiver. And then you got Danny Woodhead just cleaning up whatever they need him to do with 70 combined yards and 2 touchdowns.
The be-all guy of the team, Mr. Utility Man, Danny Woodhead, just continues to impress me. I thought he was a Bill Belichick guy that would fall off the face of the earth when he went somewhere else, and he has proven to be a weapon in San Diego.
The stat I haven't heard all week other than when we reported it on 102.7, so I'm going to say it again. Kansas City defense, the first 9 games was allowing 12.3 points per game. The last 2, 34 points per game. I mean, Kansas City is built on winning games 21-17, and they're not going to be able to do it if their pass rush isn't there. My
question to you would be, that's a hell of a stat, but my question to you would be, the last 2 weeks they played Phillip Rivers and they played Peyton Manning, and you look back at the teams they played before that, it seemed like they were playing revolving doors at quarterback, teams that were maybe down and out a little bit, not really having their best week to get ready for Kansas City.
Yeah, we made note that Kansas City's first 9 opponents would get Kansas City BCS bowl ranking number 30. They wouldn't even be in the picture for a national championship.
They'd be like the Boise State of the BCS, but
they'd be up there complaining that they've got the best record and they're not getting in the bowl game.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's.
And now you see what happened. It almost looks like Oregon whenever they face a good team. Now
exactly
they get blown out.
Maybe they're the Oregon of the NFL. But yeah, we got a special message, didn't we, from our San Diego Supercharger super fan.
We always refer to San Diego as Beans San Diego Superchargers, and he checked in after the win.
It's impressive.
Chargers! Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Chargers have won a game. They have beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And due to that, you get to hear me sing. Superchargers, San Diego. Superchargers, San Diego. Give the Chiefs, San Diego. Fucking rolls, yeah!
Thank you for that, Beans. Fantastic. Yeah! Superchargers!
Moving on.
Let's move on to the Pittsburgh-Cleveland game. I think that Beans segment was more entertaining than this. But Pittsburgh's finally coming around. I'm not really going to talk about the game. I don't really care, except for the fact that the Browns laid another egg. And who better to talk about that than you know who?
Drunk Bernie Kosar. We're going to pump him full of Narcan and get a segment out of him.
That's right. Good luck.
What the f*** did you just shoot me up with? Where'd my buzz go? You f***ing assholes. How did you find me? You persistent bastards. How many dumpsters did you have to dig through to find me? Is my rambling incoherence so intriguing that you have to pester a broken down old man every week? What do you want me to say? It's the Browns. Of course they suck. And of course they got beat. And in spectacular fashion by a team most people are written off earlier in this season. We got to see Whedon back in the game. Yay. No one's getting high off of that shit because it was weak to start with, but now it's long past its expiration date. We turned the ball over 4 times. You're not going to win like that. And if we can't get something other than Josh Gordon working on offense, then we're not going to be drinking in celebration for a long time either. But drinking in disgust is nearly as enjoyable. This week, we're bringing in a team that may suck worse than we do. Maybe one of the coaching staff will put the boots to Whedon's decrepit old ass and get him to utilize Jordan Cameron like he did earlier in the season. I'd say our running game might step up, but that would be relying on Willis McGahee and Fozzie the f***ing bear. I saw F. Whitaker on the depth chart. I thought the last king of Scotland was going to be taking some handoffs. I was disappointed when I saw it was Fozzie Whitaker. Who the f*** names their kid Fozzie? Is that good? Can I go back to my dumpster now? Lunchtime's almost over, and they have ribs on the grill today. Anyway, this is Bernie Kosar, and I'm stone cold sober thanks to whatever the hell you shot me up with, you f***ers.
Thank you, Bernie Kosar, for your report on the Browns and shooting smack into your eye the dumpster of a Golden Corral. We're going to get sued by Golden Corral.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time before we get cease and desist letters from Golden Corral. But in the meantime, why don't we just start a contest, kind of like a Where's Waldo kind of deal. There can't be that many Golden Corrals in the greater Cleveland area. So if you can drive down to the Golden Corral and maybe find which dumpster Bernie's hanging out in this week, you can pay for some gas and come down here and hang out in the studio with us. That'll be your reward.
The winner gets all the smack and Goldschlager that they can take from Bernie.
That's right. Let's get to the games.
Hit the music.
Let's go down to Detroit, where the Lions are going to play host to the Lightning Arm-led Green Bay Packers. I said I wouldn't be able to cheer for them anymore, but I lied. I'm going to cheer for Detroit. Go Lions. Go Thanksgiving Day. I'm going Lions.
Detroit, home of insane clown posse, bad coaching, and a heroin epidemic the size of Joe Flacco's. Give me Green Bay.
Let's go to Jerry's World, where Chris Riley's, my Dallas Cowboys, not Chris Riley's Dallas Cowboys, my Dallas Cowboys are going to be playing host to Undead Al's Oakland Raiders. It's going to be an epic halftime performance between a zombie and Jerry Jones. It's going to be epic, but I'm going to roll with the Dallas Cowboys.
Riley and Steve will be off that Dallas bandwagon by the end of this game. Give me Undead Al's Oakland Raiders and
upset special.
Their defensive pass rush excellence.
I used to call this a man's game. Now it's more like I don't really know if I want to watch it. It's the Baltimore
Ravens. Now it's
Ravens.
a feeble bitches game.
Let's go up to Baltimore, where the Baltimore Ravens are hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Home of feeble bitch Joe Flacco.
I'm going to roll with the Pittsburgh Steelers because of that. Because of Joe Flacco and his feeble bitchness.
Because of his heroin addiction, I'm going with the Steelers too.
All right, let's go to the Metrodome, God's country. The Minnesota Vikings don't have very many games left before they tear the place to the ground. They're going to be hosting J Cutler's Chicago Bears, and it's a hard game for me to. I almost got to cheer for the Bears for the draft. No, I'm going Minnesota Vikings. Who am I kidding?
I just hope this game has a winner after 4 hours. I was set through another Vikings game for 4 hours and nothing ends the tournament. I'm going to hang myself.
I might hang myself with you.
Give me Minnesota.
Mass suicide right here over here on 2420 Studios.
Heaven's Gate shit.
Let's go to Bernie's Cleveland Browns. Hopefully he can pull himself out of a dumpster to watch the Cleveland Browns. They have a chance to win this week. They're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to roll with the Cleveland Browns. No matter who they start at quarterback. I heard they signed the trick shot quarterback this week.
Cleveland, home of Drunk Bernie's favorite Golden Corral dumpster to pass out in. Give me Cleveland just based on that.
Let's go to Jim Irsay's home in Indianapolis, the house that Peyton Manning built, Jim. They're going to be hosting the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to have to roll with Indianapolis this week, even though I really, really, really want to take Tennessee in the upset.
Give me Indianapolis in the home that Trent Richardson built. Beast mode.
Let's go to New York.
2 yards a carry.
New York, it's a place where I want to hang out after that Dirty Kermit segment. Sounds like a lot of fun. They're going to be hosting the Miami Dolphins this week, and I'm going to go with Miami to continue the Geno Smith slide. Maybe they'll start Josh Cribbs at quarterback next week.
It sounded like shit was getting weird in New York. Give me Miami.
Let's go down to Carolina, home of the Carolina Panthers. My Carolina Panthers, if you remember preseason. They're going to be hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going to roll with the Carolina Panthers.
This is a game that Carolina loses last year. This year they win it. Give me Carolina.
Let's go down to Houston Texans, where their fans will be they're passing out free paper bags to wear over their head in Houston after their Super Bowl aspirations have diminished. They're going to be playing host to the New England Patriots, and I've got to roll with Tom Brady in this one. I mean, after last week, there's no way I'm picking Houston.
It's like the Hatfield McCoys for Superfan Gimp, as his girlfriend Heather's a Houston fan, and he's a New England fan, but I don't know. He might have to stay over here and sleep on the couch on Sunday night because New England's going to stomp Houston out. Give me New England.
Let's go up to Buffalo Bills, soon to be Bon Jovi's Buffalo Bills. We're working on getting Bon Jovi right here in the studio to join us to talk about it. But in the meantime, the Buffalo Bills are going to be playing host to the sleeping Counts Atlanta Falcons. I think the Falcons are asleep as well, the way they've been playing. I'm going Buffalo at home.
If I had to watch this game, I would pray that I was asleep. Give me Atlanta.
Let's get in a plane and fly from the East Coast to the West Coast and go to San Francisco, where the 49ers are going to be playing host to my St. Louis Rams. It's hard to do it, but I'm getting the vibe that San Francisco is about to go on a run. I'm taking the San Francisco 49ers over the St. Louis Rams.
Michael Crabtree coming back for the Niners. I think that opens up the offense. You start to see Kaepernick being Kaepernick. Give me the Niners.
Let's go down to Kansas City, home of your guy, the Kool-Aid man.
Fat ass.
Kansas City Chiefs are going to be playing host to the Denver Broncos, and it's going to be another cold weather game. We'll see if Peyton can get it done, but I'm going to roll with my boy, No Sean Marino, to run right over top the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm going with Denver as well. I'm worried about the KC defense after that. As much as KC fans are worried about Andy Reid's cholesterol.
We got more games this week. I'm running out of steam.
Is there this many games in the NFL this week?
It's unbelievable.
Are teams playing twice at this point?
I think the CFL has merged into the NFL. As many games as I have written down here.
Expansion has happened.
Let's go down to San Diego. San Diego Superchargers. They're going to be playing home to the Cincinnati Bengals. And I've got no faith in the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm rolling with my guy, Phillip Rivers, to get the job done in San Diego.
Yeah, I think Danny Woodhead has a big day against Cincinnati's injured defense without Atkins, and we have Beans singing again next week. Give me the Chargers.
Let's go up to Washington, where there might be a fist fight between the Catfish and the entire Shanahan family. It'll be a family feud to celebrate Thanksgiving in Washington, as they're going to be playing host to Sling Blade Eli Manning, fresh off his awesome Ask the Snake segment performance. I'm going to have to, just off that alone, I'm going to roll with Sling Blade and the New York Giants.
Yeah, the Washington fans are my new number 2 favorite fans in the league behind Philly. They were cheering as loudly as I was last night whenever RG3 was getting annihilated by blitzes. Give me New York.
Let's go up to the 12th man. The Seattle Seahawks are playing host to the New Orleans Saints, the Hurricane Katrina-led Saints. The Hurricanes rolling in to the West Coast. We'll see how that rolls. I think that'd be like a typhoon or something. It wouldn't even really be a hurricane anymore. But I've got to roll with the 12th man in this one. It should be an interesting game. It's definitely the game of the week. But I got to roll with my guy, Russell Wilson, to get the job done.
Drew Brees will not damage any levees in Seattle. Give me Seattle.
And finally, your Philadelphia Eagles will play host to the Arizona Cardinals in what is an epic NFC playoff battle right here in the middle of the season. It's a tough game to pick. It's going to be a good one. We'll see if Nick Foles can remain interceptionless. I'm going to roll with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, my Arizona Cardinals versus my Philadelphia Eagles. It's like picking
Tough
your favorite
game.
kid.
That's right.
Not really. The Cardinals are like the adopted step kid. They're not really my team. Give me Philly.
Yeah, and I know another guy who's going to weigh in on this. This is a pretty good topic. Eagles and Cardinals. It should be an epic animal battle. We'll see how the casual fan has that one weighing out.
Natural Fighting League.
Hello once again, my friends. The Casual Fan Reporter here, checking in as always here on the Displaced Diehards podcast, which is available for download on iTunes and Stitcher Radio, and can also be seen Saturday nights at 10 p.m. on Time Warner Cable Channel 72. Although I must say, as of late, with my success rate on my tough call matchups ranking in somewhere between Rhode Island being taken seriously as a state and the number of completed trips by the Titanic, I don't really think I should be showing my face anywhere, especially around people who listen to the show and have taken my analysis on these Natural Fighting League battles as the gospel. Sweet Jesus, I just can't catch a break, and I sure as hell can't count on my brothers from Texas stepping up and helping me out. And to think, all it took to make the great state of Texas look like a big heap of stupidity was some silly old spotted jungle cats. No, well, wouldn't be the first time a Texan screwed up over some pussy. But anyway, we move forward and look to the future, like with this week's tough call matchup. But I gotta say, this battle is for the birds, literally, as the Arizona Cardinals migrate north to the harsh cold of Philadelphia to do battle with our nation's symbol of strength and honor in the form of sleek feathers and powerful talons of the Eagles. At first glance, this is not a very exciting battle about to unfold. A Cardinal is so puny and not intimidating at all, and the Eagle, well, I mean, come on, it's a freaking eagle. It's got a crazy hooked beak perfect for tearing the scales away from fish, or in this case, the red feathers of the Cardinals. Then you got those talons that grip like a roadie at an Elton John concert, and let's not forget about the eardrum-piercing screech that bald eagles are known for. It's like Freddy Krueger scratching a chalkboard. What the hell can a Cardinal do to combat that? Sing me a pretty song and fly around the battlefield all graceful like? What's that gonna do? Once those eagles sense their nest being invaded, it's game on, and that's why I'm picking the Eagles to destroy those little silly little birds from Arizona. I mean, honestly, it's just not smart battle planning on the Cardinals' part. What damn bird flies north during the winter? They'd be better off going to Atlanta and picking a fight with the Falcons. They probably still wouldn't win, but at least it would be warmer. Oof, I hate winter. Anyway, this is the Casual Fan Reporter saying keep listening, keep watching, and above all else, if you're a bird of flight, learn your damn migratory patterns. Later. Why would you want Cardinals to do your battles in Arizona anyway? Why not fighting cactus? Now that's scary.
Thank you, casual fan, for your report on Philly versus the Cardinals. I'm ready to see some Eagles Talons ripping out some redbird feathers, as he said.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the fantasy starts and sits segment. I'll kick things off with my boy, the guy that Jim Irsay should have traded for, Toby Gerhart. Adrian Peterson's a little banged up this week, and the Chicago Bears have an atrocious run defense. So, I mean, if you're looking for a running back maybe in a flex spot, I know bye weeks are over, but if you're banged up with injuries, Toby Gerhart might be a solid option.
My number one start is going to be Michael Floyd, the Arizona Cardinals wide receiver, starting to step up versus Philly. Unfortunately, we still got Nate Allen on our team. Even though he's played better lately, I'm not trusting in on him.
One. Yeah, I'm going to start Maurice Jones-Drew this week because I'm actually going to start him. I have him, Eddie Lacy, and
They're trying to give this guy away for the last 6 weeks.
The guy's putting up like 20 points a game in the PPR. I can't keep him on the bench any longer. He's fought his way into my lineup. I'm starting Maurice Jones-Drew this week.
I'll keep it with a wide receiver, Ruben Randall versus the Washington Redskins. I think Washington's falling apart as we speak, and I think Ruben Randall's due for a big day.
I had Ruben Randall penciled in. I changed it to Hakeem Nicks for the simple fact the guy's all over the map. If I had Hakeem Nicks on my team, he'd be in and out of my lineup. I'm starting him this week versus Washington.
Spider Nate Burleson, my third and final start.
Fantastic.
He looked good in the first game back. This is the second game back. Should have his legs under him even better, and he's taking on a Green Bay pass defense, which kind of sucks.
And I'll move on to the sit segment. I'm actually going to sit Eddie Lacy this week because that's a real thing. I'm actually sitting him in favor of Maurice Jones-Drew. He looked a little banged up right there at the end, and that Detroit front has proven to be a beast when it comes to running games. So I'm sitting Eddie Lacy.
Not Trent Richardson, beast. Good beast.
That's right.
My first sit is going to be Andre Johnson taking on the Patriots. Bill Belichick will take your number one weapon away from you and make you beat him that way. So I think Andre Johnson's the number one weapon. Set him.
And he's frustrated as hell down there. I'm going to sit T.Y. Hilton. That Indianapolis offense doesn't look the same. T.Y. Hilton doesn't look nearly as explosive without Reggie Wayne. If you have any other options at the wide receiver position, put T.Y. Hilton on your bench.
Setting another wide receiver, Marcus Colston, taking on Seattle. In Seattle means he's probably matching up with Richard Sherman the whole game, so I don't like his chances.
Well, we're on the same page. That's my third sit. Marcus Colston was my third sit, so I'm going to roll with that. So you're definitely going to want to set Colston. That goes out to Super Producer TV producer Raj, who I offered a trade for, Maurice Jones-Drew, for Marcus Colston straight up, and he laughed me out of the room. I got news for you. Maurice Jones-Drew's a better start this week, Raj.
He got right over that, didn't he?
How about that?
My final set's going to be Zach Stacy versus the Niners. He's been a beast the last few weeks, but the Niners look like their defense is back to beast mode.
Yeah, Zach Stacy is going to have a tough matchup this week.
It's going to wrap up episode number 19 of Displaced Diehards. You can listen to us every Monday at 6:30 p.m. on 102.7 The Game, ESPN Radio. You can download the podcast every Friday, DisplacedDiehards.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Diehards Podcast. You can like us on Facebook /Displaced Diehards. You can search for us on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. Just search Displaced Diehards. You can watch Displaced Diehards television every Saturday, 10 p.m. Time Warner Cable, Channel 72 in Owensboro. Yippee-ki-yay!
Skeeter-dickin'. Displaced Diehards.
Displaced Diehards.
I am a Displaced Diehard.
I'm a Displaced Diehard. We are Displaced Diehards.